Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a very important video for you today. This video is about Takeoff, a young rapper who was just killed a day ago. I gotta explain the case and I gotta tell you what's frustrating me on this case. Before I get started, please check me out on YouTube member programs, Discord, Patreon, all the platforms, Instagram. Check them all out. Check my merch out and check Gangster Redemption. A great book. You'll learn a lot about the criminal justice system there, which I think is very important as well. Let's get into this video. And this video is a sad video. I can't stand to see young people die over senseless bullshit, over senselessness. I'm gonna give you what we know on the facts of the case and from multiple sources. After I do that, I'm gonna talk to you about my views on what we can do maybe to kind of stem some of this stuff. And I think you'll be surprised on my thoughts on that. First of all, the young man is named Kirshnik Ball, who is also known as Takeoff, who is a member of a rap group called Migos. The rapper Takeoff is from Atlanta. He's born in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Actually burst onto the scene in 2013 began performing with his uncle and fellow rapper Quavo, along with Offset as Amigos. In 2008, they started. The trio found fame in their 2013 hit single, Versace. Their success only increased in 2016 with the release of their hit, Bad and Bougie.
Bad and bougie, bad.
The single quickly became an internet sensation, giving birth to the multiple memes that played off the lyrics.
Raindrop, drop top, drop.
The song got an even bigger boost after Atlanta creator and star Donald Glover, and Donald Glover, I love his movies, name dropped the single during an acceptance speech at the 2017 Golden Globe Awards. Takeoff and Quavo recently formed the duo Unk and Pew and released their debut album Only Built for Infinity Links on October 7th. You are talking about less than a month ago. They released their own music. His second member of Migos, Quavo's 31 years old, whose real name is Quavos Kate Marshall, was at the party but was not hurt, Rolling Stones reported. Takeoff is the latest rap artist to have been killed by gun violence in recent years, following Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, and King Von. Give a little take on those. Hussle's, whose real name was Ernest Joseph Ashadome, was gunned down in 2019 outside his Los Angeles store. New York rapper Pop Smoke was fatally shot during a home invasion in Hollywood Hills, California in 2020. Devon DeKeith Bennett, known professionally as King Von, was fatally shot in 2020 outside an Atlanta hookah lounge after an argument. This young man, Takeoff, was in a private party in Houston, Texas, and there were 40 to 50 people at this event, private party, and near the end of the event, some arguments break out. The full story is not known. We got some little pieces. I'll give you what I know or what I've heard or read. And what happened then was this young man was killed. There was two other people shot, a 23 and a 24-year-old, which are all right. They actually drove themselves to the hospital. Now, this young man, Takeoff, has got a good reputation, a non-violent, a very, harmony. He was really a soft-spoken, well-mannered, I guess you can call that guy. He wasn't into the, flaring guns and all that kind of crap around. And here he is involved, and not involved, he got killed at this event. They don't know the actual particulars. And here's the thing that's a little bit confusing. This young man, the murderer or the person who shot him, is still not apprehended, or they don't have him. In fact, the police chief of Houston is Troy Finer, and he's asking the public for help. And what we know, obviously, employees told police an argument took place after the party ended when a large group of people gathered at the front door area outside of the building, which led to the shooting. At least 40 people, some articles say 40 to 50 people, were at the scene at the time of the shooting, Chief Finer said. A lot of people that were there fled the scene and did not stick around to give a statement. To me, that's more a testament of people not wanting to talk to cops, period, whether the cops are going to look them up, search something, maybe they got a warrant or something of that nature. I don't know. So then we go into that. Obviously, do I think he's going to be found? Absolutely. You can't have that many people there without something happening, and rightfully so. They need to get this young man, young person who did this to this guy. Now, was it intentional to him? They're not even sure of that. But Takeoff, the Houston mayor, Sylvester Turner, said they have met with Takeoff's mother. It doesn't matter how famous you are. You may not be famous at all, Turner said. Anybody who loses his life or her life is a life lost. And there are family members and friends who are grieving as a result. Absolutely. People have no idea the ramifications or the consequences or the cause and effect a shooting of this type has. You know, as a man who doesn't have a gun, don't believe in guns per se, I do believe in legal guns. I don't think their legal guns should be taken away. I don't know, or nobody knows yet, if this was an illegal gun or a regular gun, and I'm not going to be one of these people who spew something that I don't know. Do I believe in illegal guns? Absolutely not. I think people should understand at what point is gun violence going to stop in the United States. I am not jumping on a bandwagon, to get guns off the streets or anything. Like, yes, you get illegal guns off the street. Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. There is no place in society for these kind of guns or gun violence like this. You know, I wonder if there's a little bit of a trend going on. When I was a young man, we used these. We fought. Yes, the progression of picking up a stick or something like that, or a baseball bat, it did come about. You didn't see the gun violence you do today. Now, is it because there's a lot more people in the United States and a lot more people around the world? Is it because guns are easily accessible? I don't know, because I don't think they're easily accessible. I think you have to go through a lot of steps to own a legal firearm. Now, are there guns on the streets? A part of me says yes, and a part of me does blame the gun community on this aspect. When you own guns and you don't secure them in the right way, and your house gets robbed or your car gets robbed and there's a gun found in there, where do you think that gun is going to end up? It's ending up on the street. It's ending up on the street because the value of the guns is so high. It's not like when I robbed guns out of a jewelry store, and if anybody knows my story, and it's in the book and everything, I ended up taking a bag of guns. I had I think it was 6 guns in a bag that I ended up taking out of a jewelry store. And I ended up throwing them in a lake or pond, you want to call it, retention pond, in Florida off of I-95. In fact, the FBI went and got those guns because I told them I didn't want guns. That wasn't my thing. I used actually a BB gun as intimidation, and it's wrong, and I'm not going to get into my case at this point. But you didn't see guns 20, 30 years ago like you're seeing today. People have them. Obviously, one of the articles I read on this case was his bodyguard, or his protector, if you want to call it, and I get why you have to have that. I'm told sometimes when I go certain places I should, I don't. But what happens is, what I'm reading is that his bodyguard, I'm talking Takeoff's bodyguard, I guess saw a gun, or somebody maybe made a threat as per a gun, and he pulled a gun. Now, did he shoot him? There was an accidental shooting. I think we're going to find out in the next day or 2, or even 3, that what is really going on here. Obviously, going to the police on this case is not ratting. I want everybody to understand that, because everybody who says to me, well, they're never going to find out because nobody's going to rat. That is not ratting. I am emphasizing that. Ratting is when you and another person, friend or somebody, co-defendant, gets arrested on a robbery or a drug charge or something, and then starts telling to get his sentence reduced, telling on everybody he knows about everything he does know. I think that's terrible. I'm not a big fan of that. You know that. I don't believe in ratting. I think a person's word should mean something. Now, if you out there get robbed, if you out there get assaulted, you are supposed to go to the police. You are supposed to pick them out of a lineup, and they're supposed to be held accountable for what they did, period. That is not ratting. So you had 40 to 50 people at this event. Do I think somebody's going to eventually come forward? Absolutely. I think multiple people. In fact, I personally believe the police already know or already have an idea of what happened, a lot more than is being said in newspapers everywhere already along. The latest article I read was only 3 hours ago. And at this time, the police chief is asking for assistance, as is the mayor. They had a press conference. And I get that. You know, they're needing community's help. Listen, community is what we all should be. And you should protect your community. This is just, I call this senseless violence. And I don't know if it's people don't want to use these. They don't want to grab and fight somebody and take a beating if that's what it takes, or lose a fight. You know, anybody who's fought enough like I have has lost fights. You know, somebody says, I never lost a fight. I said, let me tell you something. If you never lost a fight, you didn't fight the right guy. You know, that's just as simple as that. Everybody loses a fight, but that's okay. You don't die from that. You know, it settles arguments. People lots of times become friends after fights, and, you know, they squash their differences. When you have guns involved, there's no coming back from that. This poor young man and his family and everybody around him is hurting because of gun violence that was unnecessary. The rumor is they had an argument over a dice game at a private party. It doesn't make anybody wrong. Even the police are saying they don't think there's any illegal activity done by Takeoff. And even if there was, it means nothing to me, because nobody deserves to lose their life over something that could be handled in a lot different way. People haphazardly pull guns, and it goes for some cops. Obviously, we know that, because they're not used to doing this. They're not used to fighting. They're not used to handling their arguments in a more non-violent way. Yes, fighting is violent, but it is definitely not gun violence or knife violence. Is there a fix-all? Even the White House, the press secretary in the White House actually mentioned this case. And, you know, doesn't impress me per se, if you want to call it that. I'll let you know what the White House said. And I'm not, again, I don't want to see this incident be politicized. I don't want people to politicize this case, as they shouldn't. And, you know, already people are saying, oh, it's Houston, there's a lot of guns in Houston, and that's why this happened. Well, there's a lot of guns in Florida. There's a lot of guns in New York, yes, even though they have a very strict gun policy. There's a lot of guns in New York, trust me. Guns don't kill people. I know people who say, Larry, everybody says that. Somebody's got to pull a trigger. Somebody's got to pull it out of their waistband, or somebody's got to aim it and pull the trigger. So that's people. We're not talking about an accidental shooting. We're not talking about a kid drops a firearm and it goes off and somebody dies. We're not talking about that. We are talking about somebody deliberately or recklessly, we don't know at this point, spraying bullets in crowds of people. People die. I don't understand it to the point where, you know, I always knew, and I tell people this every day, if you have a gun, don't carry it, please, because only bad things can come from carrying that gun. Once you pull the gun, you got two things to do: fire it, or take a beating with a gun in your hand, I guess. Because if somebody doesn't run, you have only two options: kill somebody, or drop the gun, or run yourself. Obviously, guns put a sense of power, a false sense of power, in a person's hands. but they're deadly. We don't know the caliber of the gun. We do know it was not a rifle, what they were talking about. So somebody pulled a gun. You don't just pull a gun or a rifle out of under your jacket. So it was a pistol. Pistols are legal, and I believe in pistols. I mean, there's enough places in the United States that law enforcement can't get to quick enough to help you. And in those cases, you might want a firearm in your house if somebody's breaking into your house. And I'm all for that. Again, I'm not for illegal guns. And if you do own a gun, I hope you went through all the proper channels, and you also went through the proper training. And I call them shoot, don't shoot scenarios. You know, you can't shoot a fleeing person. Can't be done. And it shouldn't be done. So you as a person, if you're out there and you have a gun, just make sure you have the proper training, and don't let that gun give you a false sense of power, because that's not right either. Guns, you know, everybody who argues for guns tells, hey, you know, for hunting or this. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about having a gun for the reason of protection. And I get it. I get it. I'm not into them. I don't have them. Obviously, I'm a convicted felon, so I can't have one. But even if I could have one, I wouldn't have a gun. I'd rather take a beating or go after somebody with a bat or whatever the hell I'm going to do in my own home. It's just me. But I do understand it, and I'm not going to sit here saying it's wrong or right to do whatever it is. With that said, my condolences to the family. I really want to see this case solved. I want to see somebody held accountable for it, or find out what happened. And if it was an accident, it's an accident. Obviously, consequences even come with accidents. But I'm a lot more lenient. I'm a lot more understanding of things. I'm just hard for me to understand gun violence at the rate we're having it with people. And yes, it's happening in Chicago. People say, oh, Larry, why don't you talk about all the deaths in Chicago? You're right, 100%. There's gun violence all over this place. You don't see this amount of gun violence in other countries. I'm not sitting here saying right, wrong, or indifference, but the United States was founded on guns, if you want to call it that. You know, when the United States broke off from England, they tried to come here and take the guns from the Tories, and that's not going to happen. And they needed them. And I don't think that's the answer either. Whether it's education in schools, think of that. Education on the importance of firearms. I have friends who have kids who have firearms, and they give their kids training like you wouldn't believe. It's not a toy. It's not a game. Pointing a gun at somebody, whether it's loaded or not, is not proper, period. End of story. Fake guns that look like real guns, and I know because I had one, are not good. They only cause death. So my condolences to this family and this whole, everybody who involved, everybody who knew this young man. And it breaks your heart to see something like this, but we need to, I think the main thing is education at this point. I wish they would put as much effort and time and effort into educating people on guns. If we're not going to take guns off the street, which we're not, we need to educate people like we used to educate people on sex. Yes, sex education in schools. It's there. And we as a society need to educate people on guns. Whether you live in a city or you live in the suburbs or you live in the country, guns are part of the fabric of the United States, and they're not going anywhere. So let's stop the bullshit. And everybody's saying, oh, let's just get guns in it, and it passes and there's another school fucking shooting. We need to educate people on the importance and how serious guns are. And we need to start educating people young in our schools. If parents aren't going to do it, we need to do it. People need to do it. I really equate it to sex education or other things we teach people in schools. Say no to drugs, that kind of stuff. Well, how about no gun violence? What is gun violence? How can we stop gun violence? When is the proper time to use a gun? Whether you have it or not, I don't think it could hurt people. I don't think it's going to make them go buy a gun, because they can't. They're being educated and they're underage. There are already laws in effect for a lot of this, and we just need to really start the educational process. That's, to me, the most important thing we can do. With that said, let's think about a lot of things with these guns. Just let's think about it, and show me your comments. Let me hear them, because you know I read them, and I was just reading some just tonight about my last video about Darrell Brooks. So please, everybody, make good choices. If you see something that's really like this, wrong, go to the proper authorities. And I'm saying that, you know, there's not ratting. Let's get to this, let's solve this place. Let's solve this crime, because we need to do that. I don't care who you are, it's not right to kill a young man like this, whatever way he's dead. And it's just sad, sad, sad. It really does, it breaks my heart. With that said, have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe, make good choices, and I'll see you in our next video.